Welcome to Fast Effect Double Speed Magic the Gathering. We've got Bo on Death and Taxes. This is round one of our F&M, and Sean is on Enchantress. Round one can be all sorts of different wild decks. We'll see if Enchantress can get in that win column, maybe get another match on camera. Not that I'm rooting against anyone, but Enchantress is pretty wild. A deck that we don't see very much of. Though I do like Bo's setup a little more readable. We've got a Trapped in Ice. Forget the name of it. It's like a 1-mana enchantment, Swords to Plowshares. Let me know in the comments. Rashad and Port doing its work a little bit, trying to restrain Sean's mana base. But Bo is going to need a threat. Probably multiple. And Sterling Grove. And that should have alarm bells going off. That is a very dangerous card. It's going to protect Sean's enchantments and possibly tutor up a necessary enchantment. Spirit of the Labyrinth comes down, and that's actually pretty good in this matchup. Primarily in the deck, I'm sure, for the blue decks running Brainstorm. Enchantress is known for drawing piles of cards once things get going. And that's going to be Argothian Enchantress or Enchantress's Presence alongside a bunch of cheap enchantments, turning them all into cantrips, really. And trapping in ice the Spirit of the Labyrinth, and now another dangerous card of Enchantress's Presence. Wasteland takes out Sarah's Sanctum, and Stoneforge Mystic goes to grab a Batterskull. But this does not feel safe at all to me. Enchantress's Presence is going to allow for a lot of card drawing. Utopia Sprawl starting out. Card draw. Avalanche likely incoming. And Setessan something? This is from Theros Beyond Death. Swords to Plowshares clears that before me not knowing what it is causes too much damage. Let me know in the comments what that creature was. I believe it's 1 green from Theros Beyond Death. And Rest in Peace now. Some main deck hate. Not super useful in this matchup, but you know what? It replaces itself when you've got an Enchantress's Presence out, so why not? Cavern of Souls, presumably in there mostly to make your Argothian Enchantresses uncounterable. And Stoneforge Mystic plus Batterskull turning sideways. The Germ getting in there. I mean, it doesn't actually turn sideways thanks to the Vigilance, so. But pressure on Sean's life total, and now Oblivion Ring taking out the Batterskull. No mana to save it. Batterskull can be a very resilient threat if you can manage to keep 3 mana open. That'll allow you to return it in response to anything like that. But Yorion now showing up. The mana was used previously to put it into Bo's hand. That is why the shields were down. And Sword of Fire and Ice now. Either one of these creatures is going to be dangerous carrying a Sword of Fire and Ice. And card drawing starting to happen. Wild Growth. And now there is that creature again. Another Rest in Peace. Counters being added. A Wild Growth. In between games, I'll look that up if nobody in the audience knows the name of it. It might be like Setessan Champion. I feel like it's a fairly generic name. Yorion can fly. He is picking up this sword. He's looking to do a bunch of damage, and that does go through, so Bo draws a card. And Path to Exile. Again, taking out the new addition to the build. I feel like Enchantress actually wants to just combo off. I don't know that you want to do anything other than draw like basically your whole deck once you get going. You know, build a pillow fort, hide behind some defensive enchantments, potentially. Sean does have access to whatever he wants thanks to the Sterling Grove. Like more card drawing. This is the new enchantment creature, like Web something Destiny. Bunch of cards I don't know. I'll find them in between the games. And trapping now the Yorion. This was the precursor to Allosaurus Shepherd. At 2 mana, making all of your spells uncounterable was pretty spicy, but then they went and dropped it down to 1 mana for Jumpstart with Allosaurus Shepherd. And I'm not going to lie, I think that card's over $100 again. I got my Jumpstart, like, second wave. It was like literally like 3 or 4 boxes. It was nothing. So I don't know if they're just done printing it or what the story is, but there is not very much Jumpstart out there. Sean's spells doubly uncounterable. Not the most relevant thing in the face of Death and Taxes. And Carpet of Flowers. That is a powerful card to be main decking as well. So Sean just has Rest in Pieces. He's got Carpet of Flowers. He's got all sorts of stuff that can answer or kind of hose certain strategies, really give him a tremendous Game 1 advantage. Cards that people don't usually have to play against in Game 1. Potential blockers here. And it looks like Sanctum Prelate is going to shut down 3 mana spells for now. Aether Vial. An Optimistic Line, hoping that things go long enough for it to actually be useful, though that may not bode well. Have not really considered Enchantress for quite a while. The last time I think I played or saw this in an event was a few years ago now. Maybe 3 years ago. And got to witness somebody explaining the Opalescence plus Parallax wave situation. How they were never going to have any other creatures for the rest of the game. It's powerful interaction. I don't know if they were running blue for the Parallax Tide. Usually if your opponent can't win with creatures, that does actually beat like most of the format, as it turns out. And now we've got the Helm combo coming in. So at the end of it there, Enchantress actually able to punch out the game using the Helm. Yeah, I don't know about these creatures. We'll see. I'll look them up in between games here. It seems like you just want to win with a combo finish like we just saw. Well then, there's actually been some spicy updates. So Setessan Champion was actually the name of the card. What a generic sounding card that is. But whenever an enchantment enters the battlefield under your control, you put a +1/+1 counter on Setessan Champion. And you draw a card, which is something that I missed there. That is basically obsoleting Eidolon of the Blossoms? Whatever the whatever the 4-mana one was. It's so old news, I don't even remember the name anymore. It's totally irrelevant. We've got a 3 casting cost creature now that starts as a 1/3, is going to get bigger, potentially putting a halt to aggression from the other side of the board. It was Destiny Spinner at 2 mana, and creature and enchantment spells you control can't be countered. The other side of that is paying 3 in a green to make a land you control become an XX, where X is the number of enchantments you control. It also gets trample and haste. On Thin Ice was the other card, and that is pretty much everything that I was iffy on. Okay. I think we're... Oh, here we go. Sorry. Yorion in the... Is it starting the command zone? I guess it does. We've got Deafening Silence from Bo, one of the better 1-drops available to Death and Taxes in this matchup. That is going to slow things. And now Thalia as well. Somewhat ideal so far. We'll see if Sean will have On Thin Ice in order to get this Thalia out of there at some point. Will Bo end up with a Caracas to potentially protect her? 2 damage coming in. And now Spirit of the Labyrinth, more hate. So now all of Sean's non-creature spells are going to cost 1 more. Not going to draw any cards. And they're going to only be able to play 1 per turn. Five damage coming in. Argothian Enchantress, not really known for her combat prowess. And Flicker Wisp adding to the beating here. Flicker Wisp has had a lot of added utility in these matchups. It's been interesting to see. So, in an instance like this, Flicker Wisp will be able to potentially exile that land and get rid of all of the enchantments on it. A lot of additional utility out of that. Sarah's Sanctum, and now at least going to be able to hold off the Thalia for now. Skyclave Apparition. Card is legit. 6 damage coming in. 5 damage. That's a Thalia. Yeah. Sean's life total very much under attack. Drawing a card with this bear, but not really doing much to stabilize. Flicker Wisp at the very least be able to continue turning sideways. Destiny Spinner is a 2/3, so it can hold off the Thalia. I mean, I guess it does stabilize. If it wasn't there, I mean, it'd be 7 damage, so... Oh, the whole thing's turning sideways. Destiny Spinner chomps. Thalia goes away. And Recruiter of the Guard. Gonna grab a Flicker Wisp. That's gonna be able to clear a blocker. Create some havoc. And Sean pauses and then does in fact scoop it up. All right, here we go. Game 3. Sean leading out with a Prismatic Vista, fetching out what'll likely be a basic forest, indeed snow-covered forest. Into a Utopia Sprawl. Enchantress does want a ramp. Bow with a keepable hand with no 1-drop. No Aether Vial. No Deafening Silence. We'll see what Hate Bears are to come. Argothian Enchantress and a Wild Growth. Sean spreading these out across both of his lands, hedging a little bit against Flickerwisp. Usually Enchantress actually likes to load up tons and tons of enchantments on the same land, potentially getting use of that land multiple times a turn. And here we've got a Oblivion Ring doing its job. Stoneforge Mystic now coming down. Wasteland does remove the Serra's Sanctum. That card's gone up a bunch in value. Probably could go up a lot more. And looks like Feast and Famine to me. Looks like the Sword of Feast and Famine on the other side. Sterling Grove. Such a powerful tutor effect in Enchantress. And that it actually can have that huge upside of giving your enchantments Shroud before you need to use it. Just play it, draw a card. Enchantress's presence, and now things might get really spicy here for Sean. Each enchantment now going to be drawing 2 cards. So for 1 mana, you've got Wild Growth. That will draw 2 cards, and when the forest is tapped, it'll replace its mana. So, I mean, you're basically a 0 mana draw 2. Bill from Pokemon. This Feast and Famine does not feel like it's going to be able to undo this amount of card advantage. Discard and untapping lands. Oh, actually, we had a enchantment take out the Sword of Feast and Famine. I didn't catch what that was. I'm guessing like a Seal of Cleansing. And now Setessan Champion showing up. And each of these enchantments is going to be 3 cards now. Rest in Peace. Things are firmly out of hand. Swords to Plowshares does delay the inevitable in all likelihood. It is difficult to imagine a way of Bo getting back into this game. So much card drawing. Another Argothian Enchantress. Stoneforge Mystic. Responding to being on thin ice. Putting in a Batterskull. You'll get that Germ token on there, but I don't know what good it's going to be able to do in the face of all of this card drawing. Helm of Obedience mercifully puts it down as that just shows up in Deck's Bow due to its combination with Rest in Peace. But man, that was an impressive performance from Enchantress. That is exactly how you draw it up. This is nice to see. There's a lot of enchantments that have been printed since the last time I've seen Enchantress out for a drive. And hopefully we'll end up with another match or 2 on camera. That is all for this one, but don't worry, there is a lot more. You can check out our older videos, and we're always putting out new videos from ELD's Time Vault Games in Bellingham, Massachusetts. If you want to help the channel, of course, you can like, subscribe, share, tap that notification bell so you can know the next time our new videos come out. Thanks for watching.